China controls more than 90% of the world's rare earth processing. But here's the part almost nobody is talking about. On Malaysia's east coast, a 100-hectare industrial complex is quietly changing that equation. And Washington, Tokyo, Brussels, and Beijing are paying attention. If you're watching from Malaysia, drop a bith in the comments, because I think the world is seriously underestimating what's happening here. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Kuantan, Pahang. This is Linas, and this isn't just another industrial plant. It's the largest rare earth separation facility outside China. Think about that. A country better known globally for beaches, food, and skyscrapers is sitting on infrastructure that could influence the next generation of electric vehicles, advanced electronics, and military technology. And here's why. Rare earths aren't actually that rare. The difficult part is separating them into usable materials. That process is expensive, complicated, and chemically intense. China spent decades building that expertise. Most of the rest of the world simply didn't, until now. Because without separated rare earths, you don't get the high-performance magnets used in EV motors. You don't get many advanced electronics. And you certainly don't get some of the precision technologies modern militaries depend on. Then Malaysia did something that changed the game. Linas began producing commercial quantities of dysprosium oxide in Malaysia. That matters because dysprosium is one of the heavy rare earth elements used in powerful magnets that need to survive extreme temperatures. For the first time, a major commercial supply outside China was becoming a reality. And suddenly, Malaysia wasn't just watching the global supply chain. Malaysia was becoming part of the supply chain the world couldn't afford to ignore. Then came Washington. The U.S. Department of Defense moved toward a roughly $96 million supply agreement involving Linas. And notice where the important processing happens. Kuantan, not Washington. Not Beijing. Malaysia. Now zoom out. Malaysia is estimated to have more than 16 million tons of rare earth resources. And in 2023, the government moved to stop the export of raw, unprocessed rare earth material. The message was simple. Don't just take our rocks. Process them here. Create jobs here. Build expertise here. Move up the value chain. That's a very different strategy from simply exporting raw resources. And Malaysia isn't stopping at separation. Companies are moving toward building more of the supply chain locally, more processing, more manufacturing, and eventually more magnets. Because separating rare earth oxides is only half the battle. You still need to turn them into the components industries actually use. And then something even more revealing happened. Malaysian lawmakers began questioning the Pentagon-linked arrangement. Should resources processed on Malaysian soil be feeding foreign military systems? That debate matters, because it shows Malaysia isn't simply becoming somebody else's supplier. It's beginning to ask, what do we want this strategic resource to do for Malaysia? And honestly, that might be the biggest story here. For decades, Malaysia was often viewed through tourism. Kuala Lumpur, Langkawi, Penang, street food, beautiful beaches. But the next chapter could look very different. Because while everyone is arguing about America and China, Malaysia may be sitting between them with something both sides desperately need. The real question isn't whether Malaysia has become strategically important. It has. The question is how carefully Malaysia plays that position. Because if the country gets this right, Kuantan may become far more important to the future of global technology than most people realize today. And this is only one part of Malaysia's transformation. Because while Kuantan is changing the global supply chain, Johor is changing something much closer to home. And that story may surprise you even more. Singapore is one of the richest places on Earth. So why are more people looking across the border at Malaysia? The answer is hiding in one number, 3.1. That's roughly how many Malaysian ringgit one Singapore dollar buys around mid-2026. And that currency gap is changing how people live. Every day, people cross a tiny stretch of water between Singapore and Johor. Not for a holiday, not for a weekend getaway, for life. They work in Singapore, earn Singapore dollars, then live in Johor Bahru, and suddenly, their money goes much further. If you're from Malaysia, you probably already know where this is going. But the scale of what's happening is fascinating. Johor Bahru sits just across the border from Singapore, yet the cost of living can be dramatically lower. Housing is the obvious example. A budget that might get you a cramped space in Singapore can give you a much larger home in Johor. Groceries can be substantially cheaper. Restaurants can be cheaper. Entertainment can be cheaper. And suddenly the same income feels completely different. That creates a strange situation. You can earn like you live in one of Asia's most expensive cities, while spending like you live somewhere much cheaper. And that's why Johor Bahru is becoming more than just a neighboring city. It's becoming an extension of Singapore's economy. Think about the routine. Finish work in Singapore, cross the border, go home to Johor, wake up, cross back, repeat. And now Malaysia and Singapore are building infrastructure that could make that movement even easier. The rapid transit system link will connect Bukit Chagar in Johor Bahru with Woodlands North in Singapore. The journey is expected to take roughly 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That could fundamentally change how people think about the border. Because once commuting becomes that easy, the question stops being, where do I work? And becomes, where do I want to live? And Malaysia benefits too. Singaporean shoppers already spend heavily in Johor. Malls get busier. Restaurants get busier. Local businesses get more customers. Property developers see opportunity. But there's a catch. The closer you get to the border and the future RTS station, the more expensive some properties become. Because affordability attracts people, and people create demand. Demand pushes prices up. So the very thing making Johor attractive is slowly changing Johor itself. And that's the fascinating part. This isn't simply Singaporeans moving to Malaysia. It's two economies becoming increasingly connected. One side offers higher salaries. The other offers lower living costs. And the border becomes the bridge between them. Singapore gets access to a larger cross-border economic ecosystem. Malaysia gets investment, shoppers, businesses, and new development. And ordinary workers get something incredibly valuable: the ability to earn in one economy while living in another. So maybe the real story isn't that Singaporeans are escaping Singapore. Maybe they're discovering that the best financial strategy isn't always choosing one country. Sometimes, it's using two. And if you want to see where this cross-border boom could take Johor next, the next story gets even more interesting. What if Singapore's biggest competitor isn't another country? What if it's the city sitting directly across the border? Johor Bahru is changing so quickly that the old image of it as simply the city next to Singapore is becoming outdated, because something much bigger is happening. Money is moving in. People are moving in. Businesses are moving in. And Singapore's growth is helping fuel it. Look at the map. Johor Bahru sits just across the water from one of the world's most expensive cities. That location alone is a massive advantage. But Malaysia is finally building around it. The RTS is only the beginning. New infrastructure is attracting developers. New commercial projects are attracting companies. And the proposed Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone could push the relationship even further. The idea is simple. Make it easier for businesses to operate across both sides of the border. Singapore can provide capital, finance, technology, and global connections. Johor can provide land, space, lower operating costs, and a growing workforce. Put those together, and you get something neither side could create as easily alone. But here's where I think people are missing the bigger picture. Johor doesn't need to become another Singapore. That would actually defeat the advantage. It can become something different. A lower-cost economic partner sitting next to one of Asia's biggest financial hubs. And that combination is powerful. Think about manufacturing, data centers, logistics, tourism, technology, real estate, even advanced industries. The border suddenly stops looking like a dividing line and starts looking like a business opportunity. But there's another side to this. If too much money floods into Johor too quickly, local housing becomes more expensive. Traffic gets worse, infrastructure gets stretched, and ordinary Malaysians could eventually find themselves priced out of the very boom they helped create. That's the tension nobody puts on the promotional posters. Growth sounds amazing, until the people living there can no longer afford it. So Malaysia has a difficult balancing act ahead. Build aggressively, but don't lose the affordability that made Johor attractive in the first place. And if Malaysia gets that balance right, Johor could become one of the most important urban corridors in Southeast Asia. Not because it replaces Singapore, but because it complements it. And that brings us to a much bigger question. What happens when a Malaysian city stops being the cheaper alternative and starts becoming an economic powerhouse in its own right? Because the answer could change how Southeast Asia looks over the next decade. And the next city on this list might surprise you.